Roadhouse. Hey, yeah, it's Roadhouse time, everybody. Let's see if the glare coming from the lights in the studio looks stupid in these sunglasses. They do, don't they? Whatever. It's a fun movie time, everybody. It's time to talk about Roadhouse. This is the reboot, the retelling of the classic 80s film starring Patrick Swayze. It took them long enough to try to do it again, this time with a bigger budget and bigger action. This feels like a movie that should be in theaters, and I know that's its whole other point of contention we could talk about. This was originally set up for MGM Studios, and then MGM got bought out by Amazon, and Amazon said, well, we'll just put it on streaming. It's a Roadhouse movie. That's going to do good numbers over there. Doug Liman, who's the director of this picture, he was very unhappy with that. And I think even Jake Gyllenhaal talked about it a little bit too, that they made this for a theatrical release because they were trying new things with CG fighting that probably would look better on a big screen, is what I'd say. So they should have got the cinema release. I still say that. Having watched this film on a really good television. Now my television's kind of old, and I'm always thinking I should get a new one just because I think the way we're developing new technologies, the frame rates and stuff, I should update it a little bit. It's not like an old TV, but it's a couple years old now. The technology's come a far way since then. Either way, Amazon released this new movie. It's one I wanted to talk about this weekend. There was other releases we could have talked about. I have nothing to say about Ghostbusters. I have nothing really to say about Immaculate, and I haven't seen Late Night with the Devil. I do kind of want to talk about that one, but I haven't seen it. So it's Roadhouse time. I have no reverence for the original Roadhouse movie. I think it's fine. I think the most culturally significant thing it did was tell young people that it's a reference that they can make on Family Guy, and that's how people know about it. So rebooting, I don't care. I've never cared about a reboot for anything. Go ahead and try to reboot something. I'm all for it. This movie's really weird. I don't think it's good. I don't hate what this movie's doing, because I can't sit here and tell you the thing that this movie is doing is any worse than the things that are happening in Meg 2 The Trench. They're about equal to me in that sense, because I'm this is big spectacle with a guy who is committed to this one specific thing, and it's very weird. This movie has a lot going on, and none of it's really working. Now, if this was, again, in cinemas, I think I'd be more forgiving of a lot of the stuff, because then it wouldn't feel like it's trapped in the streaming bullshit of it all. But unfortunately, it is trapped in the streaming bullshit of it all. So you have Jake Gyllenhaal. He plays Dalton. He's the character. He, an ex-UFC fighter who did some bad stuff in the ring, potentially. Now he's just kind of going from town to town making a quick buck. He's hired to be the bouncer at the Roadhouse, which is this bar in the Florida Keys or something. And there's some ruffians there, and it turns out there's a bigger plot than just that. Which might be the first, real fault of this movie, is trying to give us an expansive plot as opposed to just making these guys comically dumb bad guys. We try to over-explain these bad guys and their, relationship to the world, and that's kind of lame. You don't go into a movie like this hoping the script is good. I know that. I am okay with that. But it should at least be an interesting script and have real characters that have motivation and are interesting to look at, as opposed to just explaining the situation and then doing something about the situation. Nothing is really well written, and that's not going to help this movie in the long term. But this isn't a movie that's built for its, script. This is a movie that's built for its action sequences and its new technology that it's developing to actually film the fight sequences and do stuff. Now, Doug Liman is a director I'm okay with. I don't hate any of the stuff he's made. He seems like one of those guys that took to digital really well, and he's I can use this to try new techniques and stuff, and that's pretty interesting. He does a lot of interesting camera work here. There's some really cool shots where we keep the camera in motion, we're moving it around a lot. It looks really interesting. The things that go in focus and out of focus are really cool. And then you have a lot of bright colors like ocean and just blue skies all around you and some dusty plains. You can really do some cool stuff with that. So the actual aesthetic is really interesting. It's really bright. So when it's daytime, the bright stuff is really bright. And that's pretty cool to see because it looks good. The nighttime stuff looks fine. It doesn't look as good just because the way a digital camera shoots darkness, it never looks great sometimes, but that's neither here nor there. So I like the work with the camera itself. The stuff he's doing with the camera is interesting. But this is a movie, like, pretty much about the fight sequences. So you should bill us on the fight sequences, which they did. And the fight sequences are very weird because they were trying something new. I don't know all of, like, the detail that went into the fight sequences. But essentially they were trying a lot of, like, CGI fighting. So it'd be one person essentially, like, hitting a green screen type thing, and then you would digitally add the person after into that. So it doesn't look like anybody's hitting anybody. The camera moves really weird with that aesthetic too, where it's not like shaky cam. It just feels like we're moving the camera a bunch with the fight to give you like some sort of like edge, as opposed to this all looking fake. But it looks more fake than it looks good. The opening fight sequence looks really bad. The end fight sequences, when we get too intense with the fighting, it looks really bad, which really sucks for a movie that's about fighting. But if we have to sacrifice this movie to perfect this technology, sure. Is this technology we should be using to make other movies? That's a question in of itself. Personally, no. I say just get stunt coordinators to figure out how to make the fight look more real, as opposed to just CGIing somebody into a fight sequence, because that looks dumb. So this movie, it's supposed to be about fighting. The fighting doesn't look that good. The aesthetic is more interesting than anything else about this movie. How are the actors? Talk about a mixed bag of people. There's not many we need to talk about, you know, like the people that work at the bar, they are very good because they're supporting characters that don't do much. They're fine. Gyllenhaal is egregiously annoying. He's playing a very specific tone of like, I'm tired of this, I'm above this all, it's so annoying, and I don't want to be here, I'm exhausted, this is sucky, and he's sarcastic and snarky. It's not a compelling lead. I do like his outfits, like he's wearing some cool shirts, and he is very ripped, but also, I know he's ripped, but he's not really doing real fighting, so it's not that impressive that you're ripped, man. I'm not seeing you put those muscles to work. So that kind of sucks, but you know, he's out there doing stuff, you know, he's on like a boat sometimes, he hangs out with a pretty lady sometimes, you know, and then he just like sarcastically says, you should go to the hospital, I'll take you there. And it's supposed to be funny, but it plays off more like we didn't really know how to end this scene, so we're just gonna like play up to the joke too much. And it makes no sense. The bad guys are all crazy. Like, they're not that compelling, really. Billy Magnuson's kind of like the main bad guy, like he's the, I guess, like the head of the whatever organization. They want to like destroy the bar for, you know, you pay the Paradise, you put up a parking lot or whatever. It doesn't, that's like infrastructure, and it's all vague and stupid and nothing. And he's fine, you know, he's like that type of guy who just has to come in and be like intense, but he's not the brawler. Because the brawler of the movie is the villain Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor in his first acting role ever. Hopefully it's his last. Oh, man. I get it. You hire this guy for a specific thing. He's going to deliver on that specific thing. And he did. I would say he did deliver on that specific thing. What would a coked up, just rage-fueled lunatic look like? Oh, it would look like Conor McGregor? Oh, yeah, probably. So just get Conor McGregor to do it. The accent is very interesting. It feels like he's putting it on too much, if that makes sense. And then he's just a brick of a man, just being a brick of a man. And that's not really interesting to anything. And their fight sequences look so bad towards the end. This stops being a movie about like saving a roadhouse that's trying to be like taken over, and becomes like a high adventure on like the lake nearby, where everyone's like running in boats and there's explosions, and then we like stab each other with a bunch of wooden planks and shit, and you're just you lose the plot too much and it becomes too intense. And this should be about a bouncer fighting guys in a bar, you know, but then you just get lost in so much bullshit, and that really bogs it down to look really stupid and to be bad. So you don't have a good script. You have actors doing a wide variety of cocaine-fueled bullshit. This whole movie feels like it's on cocaine, and it's crazy for that. You have gorgeous aesthetics that don't look really interesting when you have fake fights and just lousy script work going on everywhere. The aesthetic is great. I love this vibe. I love the look. I like the music that we use. But when you have something so poorly framed and inside that story, not the framework itself, because the cinematography and camera work is great, but the actual framing of the narrative with the characters and the actors and the terrible fighting, you don't make anything special. I'm not going to say it's the worst movie ever made, because it's surely not. There really isn't. It's not even like the worst looking of this type of reboot. But just to do this and have this be the final result where you're like, you have none of the charisma or earnestness of a guy like Swayze. You're just all snark and no spark. It really sucks. Really destroys a lot of the momentum of this thing. And you're just like, yeah, okay, I guess we're fighting on a boat now and there's going to be explosions and it's a kidnapping plot and we're just going to... It's so much. So much of nothing, really. But I do have to say, I would like Lyman to get another like chance to do something like this. Not even like a big property, but like a movie of this budget to take this type of material and perfectly figure out the camera work you want to do, the way you want to utilize the CG, and put it in a cinema. This would look pretty good on an IMAX screen. A shame you have to watch it on your Amazon. Put movies in theaters. You do good. MGM should be in theaters. So, Roadhouse, I am going to give a 5 out of 10. Now, thank you all for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And of course, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.